5 Sinister Rules Uncovered by the Night Shift Worker at Duluth Lift Bridge. A haunting tale. The lift bridge loomed over the harbor like a giant with its heavy metal arms reaching toward the sky, casting a long, dark shadow over Mike's heart. It was a truth universally acknowledged. Certain places held secrets like the whispers that curled like smoke around the bridge, stirring unease in Mike's gut. As he settled into the dimly lit security booth, a chill crept through the air, and the weight of the ominous surroundings pressed heavily. Night had a way of amplifying fears, and with every tick of the clock, he felt more alone, more vulnerable. Tommy was sleeping just a stone's throw away, but the town's tales clawed at his mind. The first of the legends, a warning passed in hushed tones at the diner, slithered into his thoughts: never leave a family member orphaned. What if, in the dark hush of night, something were to happen? His pulse quickened. Shadows danced on his monitors, strange anomalies that twisted the nerves in his stomach. He shook his head, trying to bury the anxiety, but the past was a coiled snake, ready to strike. 5 rules, the locals had murmured. 5 rules that keep you safe. Each came backed by chilling stories: the lost, the broken, the disappeared. The second rule felt particularly haunting: never trust neighbors who seem too perfect. Across the street, a couple smiled like they had all the joy in the world trapped in their perfect lives. But Mike felt their smiles were painted over something darker. The creak of the bridge echoed like taunts in his ears, nudging at his walls of rationality. Then he heard it, a sound. Simple water lapping at the shore, but a ripple of unease swept through him. The third rule warned him to pay attention, to never ignore the sounds of water. They were more than just sounds, they were calls for help. Heart pounding, Mike checked the monitors again. They showed nothing but grainy voids. A quiet hum enveloped him, weaving its way into his mind, whispering that something was very wrong. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let us continue. The crash echoed through the booth, seeding panic deep in his chest. Adrenaline surged as Mike rushed out, needing to check the bridge. It stood there, colossal and menacing, its steel gears grinding as if the structure itself was alive, caught in a terrifying dance with the night. Figures flickered just beyond the shadows, their faces obscured but their intentions all too clear. Panic clawed at him, teeth gnashing. He felt the pull of dread wrapping tighter around him. And then, it hit. The final rule: never assume help will arrive in time, lashed at him with brutal clarity. His phone buzzed, vibrating violently against the booth's desk. A frantic voice shattered the quiet, each word suffused with terror: Mike, you need to get home, it's Tommy. The world around him spun, chaos erupting in his mind, every fear crystallizing into a single anguished thought. He was racing against the darkness, but this time, the darkness was personal. What awaited him back home? And as the bridge creaked ominously behind him, he felt something ancient and terrible stirring, preparing to unveil its hidden truths. Mike sprinted back toward his car, the sound of his footsteps echoing like thunder in the stillness of the night. Shadows hung thicker than fog, wrapping around him like a dark blanket. Each glance toward the bridge sent shivers racing down his spine. He could swear it breathed, exhaling a sinister hum that seemed to pulse with ominous energy. His heart raced as he fumbled with the keys, hands trembling. The engine sputtered to life, a sound that should have brought relief but only heightened his sense of dread. Why was Tommy's voice so panicked? The thought clawed at him as he backed out, tires squealing against the gravel. The town felt different in the dark, familiar buildings looming like specters. Each streetlight flickered sporadically, casting haunted glances along the road, and the stillness bordered on the surreal. It was as if the world was holding its breath, waiting for something terrible to happen. With each turn, Mike felt an invisible weight pressing down on him, pushing on his chest until he could hardly breathe. The couple across the street flashed in his mind. Their perfect smiles morphed into ghastly grins, teeth sharpened and glistening in his inner vision. What if they knew something? What if their perfect lives were just a front, a mask hiding something grotesque and sinister? He shook his head, dismissing the paranoid thought and focusing on reaching home. As he approached his street, the headlights illuminated the familiar house, but it felt wrong. Unsettling shadows seemed to ripple in the windows, and the front door stood slightly ajar. Panic surged anew. "Tommy!" he yelled, voice cracking against the emptiness. "I'm coming." He dashed across the lawn, each step heavy with dread. The air was thick, sharpened with the taste of fear. As he entered, an icy breath of wind whipped through the hallway, and he staggered back, taken aback. The house was a graveyard, still, silent, too quiet. "Tommy!" he called again, moving deeper into the gloom. The hallway stretched before him, shadows clinging to the walls. The distant sound of something shifting sent his stomach tumbling. Rounding the corner, he was met by the stark sight of the living room. Toys strewn about like casualties of a forgotten battle, the television flickered with static, casting erratic shadows that danced grotesquely. The comforting presence of home had transformed into a realm of nightmares. A creeping sense of dread gripped his throat as he moved cautiously, heart racing. Then he heard a soft whimpering sound, barely rising above the static. It drifted from Tommy's room. Every instinct screamed to run, to abandon the unknown, but the bond of a brother called louder. He edged to the door, pushing it open with trembling hands. The sight inside sent a cold spike of terror straight into his heart. The room was empty, yet the air pulsed with an unsettling energy. The closet door stood shut, something about it emanated a dense, palpable dread. Mike stepped deeper, feeling lightheaded as the shadows seemed to swell around him, pulling him into their murky depths. And then it hit him, the realization of the fourth rule: always expect the unexpected. The rules were a twisted protection, but Mike had breached their boundaries. He could almost hear whispers lacing through the air, warning him, luring him into a darkness he might not return from. "Tommy?" he whispered, retreating a step. The whimpering had stopped, replaced by an oppressive silence that set his skin crawling. A soft creak came from the closet, and every nerve in his body sparked to life. He took another trembling step forward. Fear electrified the air. The door swung open slowly, revealing the inky black interior beyond. In that moment, he realized the house wasn't the only thing hiding secrets. What had he unleashed upon himself? A chill swept through the room, and Mike stood frozen, breath caught in his throat. The closet door gaped open, as though inviting him into an abyss. Shadows writhed inside like living things, smothering the light. "Tommy!" he repeated, but the word felt hollow, swallowed by the suffocating darkness. When he stared into the deep void, something stared back. A pair of glowing eyes glinted from the depths, cold and focused. Adrenaline surged, flooding his body with a primal urge to flee. But he couldn't move. He felt rooted to the spot as the eyes inched closer, manifesting into a silhouette small and childlike, yet undeniably wrong. As the form stepped into the light, Mike's gut twisted. This wasn't Tommy. The figure wore a tattered shirt, its skin pale and stretched too tight across bone. A smile split its face, far too wide, creating an abyss of darkness where emotions should rest. The child spoke then, words slithering through the air. "Come play with me." The voice was sweet, laced with a syrupy undertone that transformed it into something sinister. Panic clawed at Mike's insides, drowning him in cold sweat. His instincts screamed for him to run, but he took an involuntary step forward, unable to break the spell. "Where's Tommy?" he stammered, voice no more than a whisper, lost to the oppressive silence. The figure tilted its head, and with that simple motion, shadows clung closer, thickening around Mike like a noose. playing a different game now, get away from me," he shouted, his voice breaking the trance, finally igniting a flicker of resolve. He stumbled backward, colliding with the bedroom dresser. The unsettling nature of the room kicked his adrenaline back into overdrive. But the grin on the child's face widened, as if feasting on his fear, and the shadows responded. They swept out of the closet, pooling on the floor like ink spilling from an overturned bottle. Mike could feel their pull, hear their whispers pressing against his skin like icy fingers. Was this thing even human? "Playtime is fun," it said again, advancing slowly, deliberate enough to make Mike's skin crawl. Desperation flooded him. This wasn't a game, it was a trap, and he needed to escape. With every ounce of strength he had, he pushed past the figure, stumbling into the hallway. He glanced back, heart racing like a drummer in a fevered march. The child hadn't followed yet. The house felt alive, like the walls were closing in, eager to consume him. Mike dashed towards the front door, the sound of his own panicked breaths echoing loudly in the silence. But hesitation gripped him again as the door stood slightly ajar, inviting yet ominous. Just beyond, he could feel the oppressive energy of the town lying in wait outside. Heart hammering, he flung the door wide open, thrusting himself into the night. His eyes scanned the darkness for any sign of Tommy. Rationality battled with madness as the shadows blurred what little light remained. What if Tommy was trapped inside? What if he was part of this evil? Suddenly, a small voice rang out from the darkness, soft yet distinct. "Mike! Help me!" Fingers gripped his heart once more as he turned, straining his eyes against the inky darkness to catch even a glimpse of his brother. The weight of the moment pressed down, and shivers exploded through him. This was not just fear, this was a confrontation with something beyond comprehension. "Tommy!" he yelled, plunging back into the night, ignoring the warning creeping across his mind. What if it was a lure? What if he was walking into a trap worse than before? The thought sent him sprinting further into the abyss where shadows split and darkness danced, whispering secrets that rumbled through his soul. He had to find Tommy, had to breach that terrifying threshold. But would he emerge victorious or as altered as the shadows themselves? Just beyond the corner of his eye, he glimpsed movement. Then, the child's laughter echoed behind him, a twisted melody that sent tremors through his very core. Was he too late? The air outside was thick with a foreboding silence, closing in around Mike as he stepped onto the cracked pavement of the street. Shadows slithered along the ground, making shapes that seemed to mock him. His heart pounded against his ribs like a wild animal trapped in a cage. "Tommy!" he called again, his voice almost drowned by the swirling darkness. It was strange how quickly the vibrant town turned into a graveyard of shadows, the streetlights flickering like nervous fireflies, barely illuminating the horizon. Each step felt like a journey deeper into the unknown. The laughter that echoed in the night left chills crawling up his spine, a reminder that he wasn't alone. Something hunted him. He moved toward the sound, fear clawing at his throat. "Tommy!" Panic seeped into his voice, desperate to cut through the oppressive shroud of darkness. He froze, the laughter reverberating around him like sinister echoes in a cavern. It twisted in his gut, urging him to hide rather than seek. But he couldn't let fear win. Not now. Then he saw it. A flicker of movement ahead. Slipping between the shadows, a figure dashed across the street. His breath caught. Was it Tommy? Tommy! Mike sprinted forward, heart racing, the thudding of his feet mingling with the eerie giggles that dripped from the darkness. The figure turned, and for a split second, he locked eyes with his brother, wide, fearful, and impossibly distant. But the moment shattered like glass as Tommy vanished into the night, swallowed by the all-consuming darkness. "Come play with me." A voice chimed back, different this time, a haunting mimicry of his brother's. It was like sharp nails raking against the inside of his skull, electric and wrong. "Tommy!" he shouted, words growing raw and frantic. Panic surged, urging his legs to move faster. Each corner he turned was a passage into chaos, shadows swirling like a storm, pulling and taunting. There was nothing familiar anymore. The homes that once felt warm now seemed like empty carcasses, their windows glistening like shard-filled eyes watching his every move. It felt like the whole town was in on a game, and he was the sole player unaware of the rules. He stumbled into the park, where the air turned thick, laced with damp earth and whispers. The moon's glow filtered through the gnarled branches above, casting twisted shapes across the grass. Mike could feel them eyes in the dark, the shadows shifting closer. "Tommy!" he screamed, voice raw with desperation now. The laughter returned, but this time it echoed a cacophony of voices, the childish giggles layered over something deeper, darker. It was a choir of madness that shattered the very fabric of his being. And then he saw it, a flash of gleaming eyes reflecting the moonlight. He took a step forward, every instinct telling him to retreat. But he was too close now, he couldn't back down. "Playtime is fun," they whispered together, the chorus taunting him, drawing his brother's name from Mike's trembling lips again and again. What was real anymore? The ground trembled beneath him, shadows rising like an army of horrors, wrapping around his ankles and tugging him downward. For a moment, he felt the darkness peel away the layers of his mind, exposing the fear and dread buried deep within. Then he caught a glimpse of Tommy's silhouette, tiny and frail, standing at the mouth of a darkened alley that coiled like a snake. "Mike! Help me!" But the alley loomed larger, suffocating the air. In that moment, doubt crept back in. What if rescuing Tommy meant becoming one of them? "No!" he screamed, tearing his gaze away from the alley, running through the park, tearing himself from the whispers and laughter. But the shadows followed. Insistent. Relentless. Was he escaping or simply prolonging the inevitable? "Tommy!" he demanded once more, heart racing as the laughter rang through the air, transforming from playful delight into a sinister dirge. He turned, dread pooling at the base of his spine. The laughter danced in the wind around him, chilling him to the core, but then silence. A voice as quiet as a threadbare memory whispered through the night, "They play forever." What did that mean? Mike's world narrowed, the darkness pulsed with a life of its own. He could feel a choice coming, heavy and immovable. Would he break free, or lose himself entirely? And as the shadows fell over him, one single thought pierced through the fog of his mind: what if he wasn't the only one who needed saving? What if he, too, was destined to become a part of the darkness? The question rang in the silence, waiting for an answer. The laughter shattered the silence like brittle glass, echoing menacingly as Mike stumbled to a halt. His breath came in ragged gasps, drowning in the sudden chill that clung to the air. The darkness pressed close, darker than night, stripped of escape and light. A single thought clawed at his mind: he had to find Tommy. "Play with us." The chorus chimed again, higher now, threading through the trees, wrapping tightly around his throat. They weren't just playing. It was a dark invitation, and the shadows danced with life, beckoning him deeper. Panic surged anew as he turned. Where was Tommy? Bounding towards the remnants of the old swing set, he felt a pull, the weight of forgotten memories tugging at him. The swings creaked as if in response, a ghostly reassurance from a time when joy mingled with innocence. This place no longer felt safe, it felt like a trap. In the distance, beyond the canopy of gnarled trees, a figure shimmered just out of reach. Was it Tommy? "Tommy!" he screamed, but his voice fragmented against the heartbeat of the night. Too slow. The shadows sang back, their voices overlapping like haunting whispers. Every syllable twisted in his stomach, evoking a desperate urgency. Mike sprinted forward, following the fading silhouette. But as he approached, the figure flickered, morphing into another, a ghastly reflection of what once was. The air thickened again, suffocating and oppressive. "Please, where are you?" His hands felt clammy, fingers trembling as he reached out into the darkness ahead. A breathy giggle crawled from behind him, followed by a fervent whisper, "You're closer than you think." The voice was impossibly familiar. Was it Tommy? Or perhaps something worse masquerading as his brother? Another fleeting shape darted from the shadows, slipping behind a nearby tree. Once more, Mike chased after it, heart racing like mad. If he could just reach it, just touch it, maybe then he could drag Tommy from the abyss. "Come play with me." The voice lured again, not his brother's but oh so similar. It sent him crashing to his knees, shrouded in a panic that felt tangible, sharp like glass in his palm. The shadows emerged thicker now, an encroaching tide, whispering secrets only the brave could hear. He could feel their cold breath on his neck, the promise of despair that loomed just beyond the veil. "They all want to play." A deep, guttural laugh resonated through the park, soaking the ground with dread. The trees bent slightly, like they shared in some wicked jest, unaware of the horror that rode the winds together with Mike's rapidly escalating fear. His mind raced. If there was a game, he refused to be its pawn. Desperately, he stood up, wiping the dampness from his brow, looking for escape. "I don't want to play," he yelled, but the laughter erupted again. It rolled over him, slithering through the air like suffocating smoke. The shadows intertwined, thick as a storm, and slipped along his arms, languid tendrils of blackness that sought his trust. "You can have him, just join." In that moment, he froze. A noise rang out through the silence, a cry. Not just any cry, it was a call for help. It shrieked with terror, a plea soaked with sorrow. It bounded toward Mike from the depths of the alley. Tommy. All sense of self-preservation evaporated. He darted towards the alley, the outline of his brother visible for a heartbeat lost in the maw of shadow. "Mike, help me." But as he neared, the darkness pooled like ink, the laughter twisted, shrilling into a mocking chorus. "You can't save him, he's already ours." With a final lurch, Mike halted. He stood at the mouth of that alley, the abyss that beckoned and threatened to swallow him whole. Was saving Tommy worth the cost of his own soul? And as the light in the distance flickered, Mike heard a low voice, nearly drowned in the darkness, whispering things too sinister to comprehend. "Merging with the darkness is all you need to play forever." The sentiment tangled in his thoughts, oppressive as shadows closed in. Could Tommy truly be saved, or would all of them be swept into the night? His heart hammered. He had to decide. But what if there were something lurking there that even darkness feared? With that searing question hanging heavy in the air, everything fell silent again. Just then, the flickering light began to pulse, and another figure emerged. But was it friend or foe? The figure stepped into the dim light, revealing a gaunt face twisted with glee, a childlike grin that sent sickening chills racing down Mike's spine. It wasn't Tommy, it was one of them. The figures from the shadows, the ones who played with darkness and delighted in despair. "Want to play?" It cooed, its voice a warped echo entwined with laughter. The eyes glimmered with malevolence, a swirling void that promised suffering beneath an innocent guise. "No!" Mike shouted, staggering backward. He could feel the alley swallowing him bit by bit, pulling him closer to the darkness that writhed with anticipation behind him. "Where's my brother?" "Right here." The child pointed behind him, and for a terrifying moment, Mike's heart leaped. But there was nothing in that direction but thickening haze, suffocating and cold. "He's closer than you think." Mike's eyes darted around, searching for any sign of Tommy. The shadows began to pulse, flickering like a heartbeat that synced with his own rapid breaths. The child leaped forward, gliding toward him in a way that distorted reality. "Come on, Mike. Don't you want to play? It's so much fun." "Fun?" He spat. "You think this is fun?" His voice trembled, almost drowned by the echoing laughter that spiraled around him. Behind the insistent giggles, deeper voices mulled, rising into a chorus of malicious delight. "Fun is what we crave," they sang. "Your brother is playing too." All you have to do is let go. The child's face morphed into a shadow of Tommy's, eyes gleaming with fear and desperation. Mike, help me please. The voice shattered like glass, and Mike felt raw dread claw at his chest. No! He yelled, shaking his head violently. You're not Tommy. You're just pretending. Pretending? The laughter returned, a tidal wave crashing down around him. We are the truth he hides from. Grab hold, Mike. You can't save him alone. Mike stumbled back, his eyes scanning wildly for an escape. The shadows were closing in, coiling tighter, whispering promises of a game he didn't want to play. A soft breeze curled around him, carrying the scent of damp earth and decay. This place was tainted, steeped in stories best left forgotten. Then, suddenly, there was silence. Every echo, every fleeting shadow held its breath. Mike stood in the eerie stillness, unsure if he should be relieved or terrified. The darkness was watching, expectant. Choose. The word pierced the quiet, resonating within him like a drumbeat. Choose. He echoed, the weight of despair heavy on his chest. What do you mean choose? Join us, the child said, voice dripping with honeyed temptation. No more worry. Just play forever. It's simple. All you have to do is leave him. A familiar voice shrieked, almost swallowed by the shadows. There stood a figure once more, hazy yet desperate. Tommy. Mike gasped, the madness of the moment clawing at his sanity. But in an instant, the childish laughter erupted again, drowning out his hope. Hyena-s game, Mike. They chanted. Hyena-s rules. One must take the place of another. The alley trembled as Mike processed their words. No. How could he leave his brother? How could he replace him? The immoral dialect of choice began to grip him. He was running out of time. An image of Tommy flooded his brother laughing, smiling, not a hint of shadow in sight. But that innocence felt distant, as if the bridge to it was crumbling beneath him. Choose now. The child shrieked, the imperious command echoing. Shadows surged, filling the space, hungry and eager. What if I don't? Mike shouted, eyes wide with fear. Then the whispers crescendoed, a chilling, unified answer that rattled the bones in his body. You will lose them both. The shadows shifted, undulating like a living thing, pulling him toward the decision he dreaded. Panic surged anew as he scanned for any escape, anything to pull him back from the edge. But time was running out. Could he face the darkness? Or would he be consumed? Just then, Tommy's voice pierced through again, clearer in the strangulation of silence. Mike. Please. You have to help me. Clenching his fists tight against the encroaching jaws of night, Mike had to act. He felt the weight of the world pressing down on him. What's the catch? He finally shouted, his heart pounding, a faint glimmer of defiance igniting within. And as the child and shadows surged forward, Mike took a breath, ready to face whatever nightmare was coming. Was this true salvation, or was he standing on the brink of ruin? The shadows seemed to swallow the world, the cold grip of despair wrapping tight around Mike's mind. As he stood on the precipice of choice, the echoes of laughter haunted him, ringing in his ears like a banshee's wail. Every fiber of his being screamed against the darkness, but what lay ahead felt insurmountable. He could sense the weight of the ominous decision hanging in the air, the breath of malice brushing against his skin. The child grinned wider, revealing teeth too sharp, too glistening, as if polished by the very darkness around them. The rules are simple, it sang, voice melodic yet twisted. Just one will take the place of another. It's a game of sacrifice, a game of love. You're lying. Mike shouted, desperation clawing at him. That's not how it works. You don't care about Tommy. Oh, but we do care, the child replied mockingly, tilting its head. Caring is letting go, isn't it? It's freeing him from this life if you only say yes. No. The word erupted from Mike, guttural and fierce, echoing off the alley walls with raw defiance. He staggered backward, his mind racing, the silhouettes twisting behind him like hungry jaws. They leaned in closer, eager to consume his resolve, to fill him with the same darkness that defined them. Through the haze, he thought he could see Tommy again, an image flickering, desperate and filled with dread. Mike, don't listen to them. The voice trembled. You have to remember. You're strong. But the shadows laughed, a chilling cacophony of deceit and glee. With every second, they pressed closer, whispering sweet nothings that stung like icy barbs. You're one of us, Mike. All it takes is one choice. He squeezed his eyes shut, fighting against the enveloping dread. Just tell me where you are. I can save you. We can get out of here. Save me? Echoed the shadows, their voices growing shrill and mocking. You don't even know what it means. Save him? Or save yourself? It's all the same in the end. Enough. Mike demanded. I want to play your sick games. But even as he declared this, the self-doubt writhed within him. Maybe there was no way out. Maybe he was just delaying the inevitable. The child stepped forward, its twisted smile now a grimace of triumph. Then it's time for the real fun. With a frightful lurch, the ground began to shake. The alley was morphing, walls crumbling, the shadows vibrating with a life of their own. They flooded toward Mike, swallowing his screams. Tommy! He cried, desperation fueling his voice. I want to leave you. Don't let go. Just hold on. Tommy's voice rang out, a beacon amidst the chaos. But as the shadows closed in, suffocating his vision, Mike felt his grip slipping, his connection to reality fading. Suddenly, a surge of power coursed through him, breaking like a dam within his chest. I want to let fear decide. I choose. The shadows trembled as the words left his mouth, powerful, almost tangible. But before he could finish, the laughter encircled him, mocking, sinister. Choose what, Mike? There's no peace here. You're already sealed in the game. In a burst of adrenaline, he swung his fist at the nearest shadow, feeling it penetrate through the icy filaments of fear. With that defiance, the scream of dark entities rang in his ears, a wild symphony of agony. You can't escape, they screamed as the darkness reared back, churning like a storm. But then, amidst the chaos, the laughter came to an abrupt halt. The shadows shrank back, reverberating with uncertainty. Mike stood firm, heart racing, knowing that he was not merely a pawn in this nightmarish game. The alley was changing again, light penetrating the darkness. Hope flickered within him, but the question remained. Was he breaking free, or awakening deeper horrors beyond the veil? Find the heart of the game, the child hissed as it began to dissolve into mist. But remember, Mike, you are not the only one who must choose. As the shadows whispered his name, Mike realized he had not yet won. He had merely drawn the attention of something greater, something waiting in the wings. And as he took a step toward the emerging light, a cold laugh erupted from the depths, a promise of more terror yet to come. What lay ahead would not only challenge his courage but could threaten to claim his very soul. The light flickered before him, wavering like a candle in a storm. It promised safety, but Mike hesitated, his heart thundering in his chest. Each step toward that glimmer felt like an eternity as shadows writhed and snapped at his heels. They were softer now, whispering secrets he wished he could unhear. Find the heart of the game. Those words echoed, scratching at the surface of his mind. He wasn't sure if the whispers were urging him forward or pulling him back into their twisted embrace. Mike, a voice yanked him back to the present. It was Tommy, faint but rising above the cacophony. He reached forward, the child's voice fading into a chilling silence. The light brightened, revealing a hallway straight ahead. But at what cost? The oppressive darkness seemed to gather behind him, crawling over the walls like a living shroud. Mike felt the panic rise within him, the walls of the alley closing in, tightening around his throat. What if he made the wrong choice? Was that the heart he sought, or another trap waiting to ensnare him deeper? Ignoring the tremors in his limbs, Mike bolted down the hallway. The air grew thick, stifling, his breath came in quick gasps. Each shadow on the wall morphed into grotesque forms, clawing their way towards him, seeking to reclaim what he had just wrestled away. "Tommy!" he shouted, voice wavering. The name felt like a lifeline, but also a weight pressing down on him. "Where are you? I can't lose you. Focus, Mike. I'm close." Tommy's voice, more desperate now, ringed with urgency. "They want you to break, don't let them." Rounding a corner, Mike stumbled into a room bathed in an eerie glow. In the center lay a strange metallic device, pulsating softly, throbbing like a heartbeat. It was beautiful and horrifying, all at once. The air felt electric, dancing with unseen forces. "This must be it," he whispered, eyes darting back to the shadows. They coiled around the door, dark tendrils reaching out like fingers, hungry for his will. "I need to destroy it. It has to end here." "Maybe, but what if it's the key?" Tommy's voice was a cautious whisper, slicing through Mike's frantic thoughts. "What if it's a way to save us both?" But as Mike approached, a low growl reverberated through the room, making the hair on the back of his neck stand on end. From the flickering light, shadows congealed into a monstrous form. It loomed over the device, eyes glinting with malice. "You think you can take her heart?" it hissed, voice dripping with mockery. "You can't win this game, boy. No one ever has. I'm not afraid of you." Mike shouted, adrenaline surging through his veins. His heart pounded like a war drum in his chest, a primal call to fight. The shadow laughed, a sickly sweet sound that clawed at his sanity. "Ah, but one simple choice, it decides everything. Will you save him or yourself? The game knows, it always knows." Panic surged as visions of Tommy flickered in Mike's mind, grinning and joyful, the way he had once known him before all this darkness consumed their lives. A sudden realization struck Mike like a bolt of lightning. The shadows revealed more than he understood, a maze of choices woven into the very fabric of the game. "I'm breaking the cycle," he yelled, defiance fueling his voice. "Do you think so?" The entity's voice dripped with disdain. Shadows reached out, extending toward Mike like a dark mist, coiling around his legs. "You'll only seal your fate with the next choice." With the beast's shadow shifting behind him, a chilling thought pierced through the chaos. What if he could choose to save them all? Not just me. Mike shouted, conviction igniting like a fire in his belly. "I can save us both." The shadows froze, the air thick with expectation. As he took a step toward the device, the room trembled, the ground beneath him vibrating with raw energy. The heart of the game pulsed brighter, revealing glimmers of hope, so close yet so far. But in that moment, Mike heard the unmistakable sound of a clock ticking relentlessly, counting down. Could he truly break the game's grasp? Was this the end, or just a beginning filled with more unending terror? Tommy's plea cut through the din. "You have to decide, fast." As that chilling laughter grew louder, the darkness coalesced once more, closing in with an insatiable hunger. Time was slipping away. And with it, the true nature of their bond hung in the balance. With shadows pressing ever closer, Mike could feel every heartbeat, every decision weighing down upon him. The next choice would bring an end, or unleash something worse. Which way? He shouted at the darkness, breathless, the knowledge that now more than ever he had to make it count. As the laughter faded into an ominous silence, he braced himself for what came next, knowing the answer might lead to salvation, or doom. The room pulsed, the shadows blacker than the midnight sky. Mike's heart raced, drumming a frantic tempo as the countdown echoed louder in his ears. "Think, Mike. You have to choose." He felt the pressure of the darkness bearing down on him like a physical weight. Each tick of the clock sent tremors through his body, a reminder that time was not on his side. The monstrous figure loomed larger, eyes gleaming with a hunger that filled the air with dread. "You'll miss out if you hesitate. This game doesn't wait for the timid," it taunted. Breathing hard, Mike focused on the device. Was it truly the heart of the game or merely bait? "Trust me," Tommy's voice pierced through the madness, a faint whisper of sanity in an ocean of chaos. "You know the truth. It's in your hands." He shook his head, brushing the fog gathering in his mind. The monsters relished his uncertainty, feeding off his fear. "What do I do?" he whispered, barely audible. "Simple," the devilish entity snarled, its breath acrid and invasive. "Make your choice. Save him or save yourself. It's delightful chaos. Which soul will you sacrifice?" The darkness swirled, letting out an anguished wail that echoed through the room, a cacophony of tortured souls merging into one. Mike's gut twisted, and anguish bubbled to the surface. His instincts screamed to chose Tommy to reach into the light, to pull him from the clutches of this nightmare. But what if that choice led to his own demise? "No!" Mike shouted, resolve igniting once again. "I want to let you win." He stepped closer to the pulsating device, its metallic surface now driving his desperation. He felt the warmth leaking through his palms, an invitation, a promise. "Do you think you're brave?" The shadow laughed, its voice oozing malice. "Foolish boy, this is where heroes break. You're already lost." But with every word, the presence of fear fortified his determination. He couldn't abandon Tommy. He wouldn't. Clenching his fists, Mike screamed, "I'm breaking the rules." With that, he lunged at the heart of the game, fingers wrapping tightly around the device. The moment had arrived. A twisting feeling surged through him, as if he had grabbed hold of the world itself. Instantly, the shadows recoiled as if slapped. The monstrous figure let out a roar, shaking the very foundation of the room. "No! You dare defy the sacred rules?" it cried, rage swelling. "Sacred? You call this twisted horror sacred?" Mike countered, adrenaline shooting through his body. He could feel the heartbeat of the device syncing with his own, a rhythm uniting him with Tommy, a tether surrendering strength to both. "No!" The shadows writhed frantically, their tendrils snapping at him like ravenous vipers, but they couldn't gain purchase on his resolve. The shadows were losing their grip, the palpable evil dimming, and yet a tangible void opened within him, a chilling void whispering dark thoughts, tempting him to reclaim his fear, to turn his back on everything he fought for. "No!" He bellowed again, clenching his jaw until it ached, pushing through the doubt. "I choose to save all of us." As he echoed that defiant proclamation, a crack erupted from the device, a fissure splitting the air wide open. Light spilled forth, clawing away the darkness, sending shadows slinking back into the corners. A cacophony of growls and shrieks filled the air as the darkness strained under the pressure of that sudden illumination. But in the flashing light, another indistinct figure manifested amidst the turmoil, a silhouette of pure malice, eyes glowing like lanterns in the night. "Did you really think it would be that easy?" it hissed. Mike trembled, fear spiraling up within him anew. The laughter of the shadows faded, leaving something darker in its wake. A chill swept through the room, an icy promise that this battle was far from over. "Decide," Mike echoed Tommy's voice, twisting in the air. "What will you truly risk to save us?" In that moment, Mike felt the weight of everything he held dear crashing down upon his shoulders. Fragile hope danced ahead, but the darkness was not yet defeated. Choices loomed larger than ever, threatening to engulf the last flickers of light. "Get ready," he murmured, determination gleaming in his eyes. "The true game has just begun." And as those words slipped from his lips, he sensed the shadows shifting again, plotting their next move. In this battle of choices, something unforeseen lay on the horizon, beckoning him towards a fate more chilling than he could ever imagine. The flickering light grew brighter, illuminating the room and casting sharp shadows across the walls. Mike felt the pulsing device in his grasp, a lifeline tethering him to hope, and in an instant, he knew what must be done. "Tommy!" he shouted, the name echoing with desperation and determination as he steadied his heart against the chaos swirling around him. He could feel the darkness itching to reclaim him, clawing at his resolve, but he refused to be part of their twisted game. "I choose to defy you," he shouted defiantly, gripping the device tighter. "You will not take us." The monstrous figure before him shrieked in rage, shadows swirling like a violent storm. "You think you can stop the game? You'll find that it always ends the same." With a surge of anger, it lunged forward, but Mike drew on every shred of strength he had left. The light from the device intensified, a cocoon of illumination cutting through the smothering black tendrils surrounding him. Mike stepped closer, each heartbeat screaming for him to abandon fear. "We are more than your pawns," he roared. "We are not afraid." Without hesitation, he hurled the device toward the swirling mass of shadows. The moment it struck the floor, it shattered, sending a wave of light cascading outward like a tidal wave. The shadows writhed and screamed as the brilliance consumed them, scattering the darkness into nothingness. Wind howled through the once still room, whipping around like a vortex, drawn into the light. "No!" the creature bellowed, its form dissolving into streams of shadow slipping away, shrieking in anguish. But Mike's heart soared as he sensed the fading whispers of the tortured souls lifted away, the bonds of darkness unraveling, freeing those trapped in the web of despair. "Tommy! Where are you?" Mike's voice was raw now, a mix of hope and fear racing through his veins. In the whirlwind of light, he felt a familiar energy, an echo of his brother trying to find him. "I'm here. I'm here, Mike." Tommy's voice broke through the maelstrom, clear and panicked. "Help me." Without a second thought, Mike pushed forward through the light, arms reaching for the shimmering warmth surrounding him until he stumbled into a clear space. The chaos faded behind him and before him stood Tommy, eyes wide with fear yet shimmering with hope. "Mike!" Tommy surged forward, and in an instant, he was engulfed in his brother's embrace. Relief flooded over Mike, a soothing balm in a chaotic world. "We did it," Mike breathed, not fully believing their victory yet. "But we have to go now." The remnants of the darkness still pulsed around them, shadows crawling with desperate whispers. The hot breath of the entity clawed at their heels, but Mike did not look back. With Tommy tightly in his grasp, they ran toward the exit, the world blurring around them with speed and urgency. As they burst forth into the night, the shadows screeched one last time, before retreating, their fingers unable to grip the light that had broken through. The air felt alive, filled with the promise of freedom and the taste of dawn creeping over the horizon. They stumbled onto the street, the first rays of sunlight breaking on the horizon, painting the world in shades of gold and warmth. The lift bridge stood proudly in the distance, bones of the past now lighter, the weight of darkness lifted. Breathing heavily, they turned to face each other. "We made it, Tommy." Mike couldn't help the smile spreading across his face, eyes glistening with tears of relief. "It's over." Tommy nodded, trembling with emotion but leaning into Mike's strength. I thought they had you, too." "No," Mike replied firmly. "I won't let that happen." He pulled his brother close, guarding him against the shadows that had tried to take them both. "Together, we'll face whatever comes next." And as the sun continued to rise, flooding the town with light, Mike felt a profound sense of hope. The darkness had lost its grip, but they both knew that shadows were never far behind. Yet, they would face them together, not as lost souls but as brothers bound by love and resilience. As they walked towards the bridge, fingers entwined like a shield against the night, Mike looked down the path ahead, determined to forge a brighter future. "Never again," he muttered under his breath. Not alone. Not again. With the warmth of the new day flooding their spirits, they stepped forward into the light, ready to reclaim their lives, leaving the night's horrors behind them for good. And so, dear friends, remember this as you walk your own paths. Stand firm against the shadows, embrace the light, and always cherish the bonds that make you strong. If you enjoyed this tale and want to be part of more stories that inspire and thrill, you need to subscribe now. This is the moment to show your support. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm so that more stories can spread like wildfire. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this haunting conclusion. What do you think? Were there deeper layers to the darkness? Did the brothers finally break free? And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Only true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel. Let us keep this community growing.